We're going to go over FanNation mock draft. They did a 7-round mock draft. I want to give you my thoughts on this. I only seen the first pick, so I have actually no idea beyond what's going on there. I'm going to give you to see if this is an actual reality draft. Is this something that the Lions would do? Will these players potentially be there? Is this a good draft? Is this a bad draft? To give you my grades on this mock draft, because we love doing mock drafts here, you know, before the draft actually occurs, because it gives you options of what our team potentially could look like going into 2023. But before we get into today's video, if you are not a subscriber to Lions Nation Unite, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now. Real easy to do so, free to do so, and we're trying to get to 7,000. Without further ado, let's get into it. All right, let's get into this mock draft here and what they got, the Detroit Lions. By the way, this is by Christian Boer. So it was just posted here. You're getting the video at a little bit different time than I am getting it. First overall, they got Brian Bresee, defensive tackle from Clemson here. I've had him in a couple mock drafts, more beginning of my mock drafts, because I feel like the Lions need interior defensive tackle in a big way, and I think Brian Bresee is starting to slip a little bit in mock drafts. Obviously not this one here. Not because of a lack of talent, but he did have some injury concerns. He was a little dinged up this last year, and his stats went down a little bit compared to the year before. But I still think Brian Bresee is a really solid player, interior defensive lineman. I think that it would fill a massive need for Detroit. It would help free up Aiden Hutchinson and free up Pascal and everybody else on this defensive line and give you assurance, because we don't know what's going on Levi Onwuzurike. Remember, though, some of his stats were affected because his sister passed away at the age of 15 this past year. He was a little bit dinged up. Obviously, that's going to affect anybody, you know, when you have a member really close to you pass away suddenly. So I think Brian Bresee fits well with Detroit. I don't know now, as I'm seeing mock drafts, starting to see him slip a little bit. But would I be upset with Brian Bresee? No, I would not be upset with that. And this is a possible outcome. Let's see what they got. They got with pick 18. Joey Porter Jr. here, solid pick for the Lions. Need help at secondary. This is the ideal spot for me to get a cornerback, and the Lions most definitely need to get a cornerback to solidify the back end. You pair Joey Porter Jr. up with Jeffrey Okudah, Jerry Jacobs, and potentially a guy in free agency. The secondary is much improved. He's a ball hawk. He can play outside. I think he could play inside. I think he's universal. I think he's ready to play right now. There's a ton of good corners in this year's draft. A ton. And believe we're going to have some solid options at 18. Christian Gonzalez could potentially be available. Obviously, Joey Porter Jr., Witherspoon, Cam Smith, even though he's not really much of a scheme fit. There is just a ton of cornerbacks. So I do think this is very possible of a scenario right here, whether it be the player or the position. Joey Porter Jr. would be solid for the Detroit Lions, by the way. I think he would be a great pick for Detroit. Round 2, 48, the first second-round pick, Noah Sewell, linebacker out of Oregon. Yeah, I don't have a problem with this. I know I don't know who else is on the board with this guy's mock draft here. If Jack Campbell is on the board, or any other linebacker that I do like ahead of Noah Sewell. Noah Sewell, I do like Sewell, but he's fallen off a little bit. He now become kind of like my LB4. Who's going to be available there? That's the option here, but linebacker for sure. Sewell, he's got the attitude. He's got the never give up mentality. Seems like a Dan Campbell type of personality with the motor. Obviously, that's what you want to have in this team. He's got to get better, though, because this last year is a little bit down. I don't know if I'd take Noah Sewell with the 48th pick in the second round. I maybe would look at the second round pick to see if other options are available for the linebacker position. That is my personal preference. But Noah Sewell, Obviously, the connection to Panay. We need help at linebacker, a young guy. You put in there with Alex Anzalone. You put him with Derek Barnes and Malcolm Rodriguez. You're looking better in the middle for sure. But, at that first, second-round pick. A little bit enemy. Let's get here to go on to pick 55. Sam Laporta, tight end from Iowa. I don't understand this pick at all. The Detroit, I don't understand why people keep mocking tight ends to the Detroit Lions. I understand that we traded away TJ Hockenson, not having him on this team. You'd think there's a hole when you just look from an outsider's perspective, but if you look close, we don't need a tight end. You got James Mitchell, you got Shane Zylstra, you can bring back Brock Wright on a cheap deal. They did phenomenal when TJ Hockenson was traded. The tight ends got better when Hockenson was traded. We got so many holes. I would suggest on the defense more than we do even filling another tight end. Hell, we got a guard or a running back. I would go here above this. Guard, running back, edge. Hell, I may double dip on cornerback instead of going tight end here. I don't like this pick at all. I think that's an F pick. I think that would be terrible to get a tight end there. So, not happy with that pick. Don't want to see a tight end drafted, in all honesty, at all. I don't want to see it. Let's continue on here. Hendon Hooker, quarterback from Tennessee, falling to the third round here. This is interesting. I think this would be a value pick. I understand he's old and he's injured, but he was potentially, before he got injured, he potentially could have been a late first-round pick. So this is more of a value pick, a backup to Jared Goff. We need to know, first off, when Hendon Hooker could potentially be available this season. Is it going to be where he's available not at all, like as a backup? We're talking about backup here. Could he be available as a backup in week 5? That would be an issue here. I don't mind going backup quarterback, Hendon Hooker, because I think that is a value pick. It is a player that fell. Now, again, before injuries, we're talking late first, early second, so you get him in the third round. You get a backup quarterback. If Jared Goff does go down halfway through the back end of the season, you would have a Hendon Hooker in there for sure. I know a lot of people's not going to like this selection, but I understand it, and I don't particularly have an issue. You could go quarterback, though, later in the draft. You do got some 5th round, 6th round picks. Look for there. But he went Hooker here. I give this I say a B minus. B minus because I understand it, but for a backup role, I don't know if he'd be available right away for a backup role. We'll continue on here. Round 5, Deuce Vaughn, running back, Kansas State. I actually do like this as a value pick 5th round. I do like Deuce Vaughn. I actually did him on one of my prospect videos. Be really good. We don't know what's going on with DeAndre Swift. Are the Lions going to keep him long term? That's questionable after, what happened this season. I do think he's back here next year. He also has the injury history. I think Vaughn could definitely be a player that come in there and take some carries away and potentially be a guy, him and Jamal Williams going forward, be it a nice 1-2 combination. And then for this upcoming season, 1-2-3, the guy put up almost 1,600 yards. He's a good player. I do think that's a value pick, and the Lions do need running backs. So in the 5th round, you're potentially getting you don't want to be getting like a starter, but a rotational running back right off rip. I think that's great in the 5th round. I think that's a solid pick. Let's continue on here. They're going Gervavius Owens, safety from Houston. I don't mind going safety here. This is from the Trinity Benson trade. That's interestingly enough. We don't know what's going on with Deshaun Elliott. And if Deshaun Elliott doesn't come back, I do think you need to probably get a young safety in the draft. It doesn't have to be early. That's why I like how this one's here is a developmental safety. A guy who did very well in tackles. He's good at taking down His target, actually tackle, something that we've had issues with in the past. Some guy it's a little bit hard hitter. Obviously, he's not a day one starter. Going Jake Moody, kicker here with the final, I think this is the final pick. Yeah, the final 6th pick in there. The kicker for Michigan. Obviously, if you're a Michigan fan, you want the kicker. A lot of people always talk about Jake Moody here. I don't really know if that is something they'll do. I don't mind them throwing a dart at a kicker in the 6th round. It just depends. Are you safe with Money Badgley? Maybe you could wait and pick an undrafted free agent rookie. I think that's a route you can go there. We still need guard. I don't like the fact that they didn't get a guard in this draft, because we do need a guard. If they release Big V, it's not a depth piece. We need a guard. It's a need. That's really important there. I do like the fact they got defensive tackle, linebacker, corner, and safety. Little bit off about the tight end there. I thought that was off. A little bit off. I don't want to say it's the greatest mock draft. I'd probably give this a B- mock draft, in all honesty. If I'm looking at it all the way through, B-, almost a C+. Still think there's some players you probably could get ahead of Noah Sewell. Don't like the tight end. Would Hendon Hooker even be available at all next year as a backup? That's questions you got to wait till probably the NFL Combine. Let me know, what do you guys grade this guy's mock draft? Let me know in the comment section the grade for good old FanNation Lions Nation mock draft. With that said, adios.
Perfect.